Okay, today I'm going to be wearing this top. This is my Beach Sahara Desert top. I'm going to try and wear a different one every 3 days. And because these tops are so nice, I don't actually wear them while I'm sleeping. I find them actually a little bit uncomfortable when I'm sleeping. During the day it's lovely, but at night I don't like the idea of squashing them and because I feel like more like a swimming costume, they're a little bit irritating at night. But yes, I'm going to be showing them all off one by one. It's going to take a while. But anyway, I want to talk about this Borders song that I've listened to. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love this Borders song, and I love her attitude. I love how it's. I feel like you can watch it and you can read into it, but I feel like I get a completely different understanding, completely different picture of this, of what is being said. I think she looks like, because she's sort of the same color as technically I'm the same color now because of my skin, and if I had brown hair, I reckon I reckon I would. I don't know where I'd look from, but if I had brown hair and if you could actually see my tan properly, because the color in this video just doesn't seem to show up, so I look considerably paler than I actually am. But yeah, I think I would look far more like her. But anyway, you would watch this, and I think if you're a migrant, you'd probably think that she's on your side, because you would look at her colour and you'd think, oh, she's the same colour as me, so she's obviously supportive of this whole open borders. And I have no idea what she thinks. I would absolutely love to know what her real views is. I've heard that she turned into a Christian in 2016 or something. I really am. It's horrible. It's horrible knowing that these singers are relating to me and that I can relate to their songs. And my spirit is doing things with all these different singers, and I know she did one with Madonna as well, and that was definitely about killing it and stuff. So I don't know what they know, and it's really, really frustrating how none of them are talking to me, and I don't know their side of things. But I'm wondering, because this was like 10 years ago, I'm wondering if she was actually in favour of this. You could see people going through living in poor countries, and you can see their poverty and their struggles, and you can know why they turn to crime, because they're hungry, and if they feel like there's no businesses, then they'll turn to crime, because that's pretty much, they would feel like that's their only option. But maybe the reason why there's no businesses is because too many people do see crime and stealing as the option, and no one's going to invest in a business if someone's just going to steal from you. And therefore, teaching third world people that the reason why these Western countries are better is because they don't shoplift. People realize and recognize that if you want to buy things, if you want things, if you want food, if you want water, if you want stuff, you have to pay for them, because if you don't pay for them, then why should the people why should they serve it to you? Why should they go out and buy it and then have it in their shops and pay for their shops and make their shops look nice to draw you in? Why should they do all that if you're just going to steal from them and not give them anything? And a Westerner mindset needs to understand this, and it's not just certain races that believe this. Any race. I watched a video yesterday, and it did kind of strike nerves in me, because this man was like, God gives us everything, so why are we having to pay for anything? Food is free, we shouldn't have to pay. He was an American. Food is free, we shouldn't have to pay for it. And I've heard other people say, water is free, why are we paying for it? And what, now they're going to make us pay for air? And it's just like, it's the Clean Air Act, and it's to stop people from using cars in the centre because of... It's different, and when it comes to water, it's not free. If you go to the stream, if you go to the river, you'll see it covered in dirt and grime, and okay, yes, it's free somewhere, but for it to be free in your house and clean, it has to go through pipes which don't just come out of nowhere. No, someone has to dig the metal out the ground to make the pipes, to fit the pipes in. You'll get all these leakages, you'll get all these problems. People need to go in and get tampons that are stuck in pipes to sort of clear it out. There's a lot of work that goes into making your water free, and so it's not free. And then I've seen loads of people who complain about having to pay for water, but they don't realize the effort that has to go into making the pipes safe, making them not leak, and looking after them, maintaining them, fitting them, bringing them to your local area, and and therefore to think that you just deserve to have free water because water is free, that's such a stupid mindset. And to think that food should just be free because it's, you know, it's free. No, it's not free. I'm growing tomatoes myself, and there's no water tank, there's no water in my garden, so I have to go upstairs and take buckets of water down into my garden. Before I used to do it like with small buckets, like I think 4 or 5, maybe a 5 litre bucket, and that's actually really bad because walking in and out, you know, the water spills all over the house, and then you've got like, and you end up slipping and stuff like that. So I've actually got got like a 10 litre bucket this time, which I just load up into the bath. I put it in the bath, load up this big 10 litre bucket, take it out into the garden, and then I can do quite a lot of rounds without having to put water all over my house. But you know, I know that there'll be better ways of doing that. If you've got a hose pipe and stuff, it's easier, but you still have to pay for the water. You still have to regularly wash it every day. You still have to take the chances with the weather. You know, I saw some videos about a farmer saying how they're actually losing money because of I don't know how much money they have to spend on water or electricity to hose the water. And with there being a massive drought this year, you know, crops are going to be very probably more dead. You know, I think a lot of places that are hot, they're prepared for these hot climates, so they've already got all the material, or all the mechanisms that they need to water it. If there's no water, because they prepare for no water, whereas in England we're not prepared for this little amount of water. I don't know what my dad's done. He created this big water field. He's got like three farmer plots, three plots of land to try and grow, and he got a job in March, so he hasn't been watering them properly, but he did spend a lot of money, a few £100 on building this big thing that can collect up water, but it's not going for 3 months, so I doubt there's any water in that system. And well, if there's no water there, where are you going to get it from? What, from the stream? So that means, you know, getting a big bucket, going to the stream, picking it up, and then and having to do that journey, you know, that costs money, and the petrol that would cost money of your petrol and your time to do so. And so to have this belief that food should just be free, or that water should just be free because it's free, it's just like, you're not putting any recognition into the effort that has gone into it, the effort that has gone into making water clean, and putting the pipes in, and filling the infrastructure, and even like some sort of filter. Surely you need to have some sort of pump that kind of pushes the water down. I don't know, like it can't be maybe it's at a slight angle, and that's why. But if you're going for miles, if these pipe works are going for miles, surely there must be some sort of pump system that helps, you know, fill it back up to a higher. It takes effort, and even society itself, you know, society wasn't just made out of nowhere. No, it took time to get a large group of people to obey certain rules. Do not steal. You know, if you want to get something for 10p because the shop is selling it, great, do that. They're obviously selling it for 10p because they don't want to throw it away. But if the shop is selling something for £4 and you can't afford it, well, you have to recognise that they are only doing that because they want to keep their shop open. They want to keep money going into the shop so they can pay for the rent, so they can pay for any money that they've spent on the product, or on staffing, on insurance, on you know, on the crime. If people are stealing, then they're going to have to turn to insurance companies to pay to get their money back. But if they're doing that, then the insurance companies are going to go up, and everything. And you know, I think there's so much unappreciation. There's so many people that come into this world and then just jealous of everything, and then they just start getting like stupid. Water's free, why are we paying for it? Because there's this whole infrastructure that has made it clean. I mean, what? So you want free water, so you want to go, you think going to the stream, going down to your local stream, okay, there's quite a lot of canals in Birmingham, but the canals are freaking dirty, you know, so what? You think going to one of the local canals to pick up water is exactly the same as getting free running water from your tap? No, it's not. And you think, what, food should be free because it didn't cost anything to build? I mean, isn't that just completely stupid, to the effort and time that farmers have put into the product to make it and grow it and stuff? And so there's this, if you haven't ever worked on a farm, if you've never spent lots of hours growing something, you might not have any appreciation for it. And if there are a bunch of people who have just been sort of lying around African streets and just feeling jealous, oh, why is the West so much better? They're like, you know, what's up with that is what's going to be on their mind. So I kind of just want to have a brief talk about this song, because on one hand you would listen to it and you would think that she's in you know, in favor of open borders, and maybe she was. I don't know what her real goal is, but you might, or what her intention or mindset, but the Spirit does things for an alternative reason. And for me, I'm liking this song because I'm liking this song because I feel like you can get an idea of how they are thinking. The people that come through on the boats are just, you know, they have a certain mindset.
Freedom, I don't meet 'em, but you read 'em. This one needs a brand new read 'em. Weed in the key, weed in the key into life. Let's beat 'em.
So let's beat them. Is she's talking rubbish, and what she's saying doesn't actually make any sense. But here you've got two lines of people that are thinking, you know, let's go somewhere else. And you know, I feel like their mindset would be, the West is so much better. The West is, you know, they've got a good civilization, a good way of living, and you know, they've got all this material. Where is all this materials coming from? And I think a lot of people from these countries might actually want to think, well, why have they got this wealth? You know, someone from Africa might think, oh, diamonds are expensive. Oh, what they've done, they've come to our country, they've stolen diamonds, they've given us nothing for it, they've taken the diamonds out, and then they've gone and made lots of money out of it. So we have for some reason, we are entitled to their wealth and what they have done because their diamonds were stolen from us. I mean, they don't actually realize that, no, the only reason why diamonds are expensive is because people in these countries have money and they don't feel like they're going to be stolen. You know, you're not going to spend lots of money on a diamond that's just going to be stolen. But if you have a safe community, you know, you would want to spend money on a diamond because you don't believe that someone's going to steal it. You think you'll be able to look at it and it's pretty, and you'll be able to maybe sell it if you ever need money. So you'd see it as kind of an investment. So you'd want to put more money into it. And that's the reason why diamonds are expensive. It's not expensive because someone's gone to your country and stolen something that's very, very valuable. No, it's because the world has created a system that has made it valuable because of safety and because of rules of not just stealing and stuff like that. And these people don't understand that, because I think these people, a lot of these people might just see the wealth and all the success that they're having, and they might just think, you know, we want a piece of that. We want that, but we don't want to realize how they got it or how they formed it. You know, if you've had a life after life after life, you know, you've probably gone through wars, you've probably gone through lots of suffering, and you've probably learnt that, you know, you have to abide by rules for a civilization to be formed. And if you've had 10 lives, you will understand that. If you've had one life, you might not understand that. But if you've had one life and you were like a domesticated dog in your past life, you know, you would understand rules, because you would understand that if you want to get food, you have to be nice to your owner, and your owner would give you food. If you are a dog in a Middle Eastern country, you'd probably be abused and beaten, and if you get angry, you'd probably find that the owner would just kick you and be very nasty. So you would learn, like, lots of suffering, yes, but you would learn that sometimes obeying rules is what you know, being submissive or being forced into submission is a really bad thing, but at the same time you do learn to obey rules. But different people are at a different state of it, because you might feel like, if I could go there and not obey rules, then everything will be fine. But you don't realize that the only reason why these societies work is because people don't just go around stealing things. It's a high trust society, and the reason why this society is so successful is because everyone obeys by certain rules. And if you're going to be inviting loads and loads of people who don't respect that or don't understand that, and who do just think, you know, like a crow, if you can get it, if you can keep it without getting caught, you know, you can have it. And there's a lot of people that would see, you know, easy money as a way of getting big. And okay, there's a lot of money in crime. Why pay for something when you can just steal it? But at the same time, if it keeps happening, a lot of people aren't going to want to buy these diamonds if they're just going to be stolen. And people aren't going to want to set up businesses if they're just going to be robbed. People aren't going to want to buy houses if the people move in there and just refuse to pay rent. My sister's partner has a house in Madeira, and they didn't pay rent for 2 years, and they couldn't get them out because they had children. And according to the laws, if they have children, then you can't get them out. But they have actually changed that law, and they say if they haven't paid for 3 months, then you can get them out. And because of that law changing, they are now able to make money from the property. And because they're now able to make money from the property, they're now able to pay their mortgage, so that the mortgage company gets their money. They get their get the money that's extra. I think they do get more than what the mortgage is, but they've still got like 2 years worth of paybacks, and the property has been massively destroyed by people not looking after the property. And I don't know really what's happened, but I think they have, because the laws have changed, that they now can get the people out. I think they still haven't got them out yet, but they are getting some kind of money from it. And laws are important, but you have to obey the laws, and the laws have to be right. If you start having bad laws that just favor criminals or criminality or lazy behavior, then more properties are going to start falling into disrepair, because the owners aren't going to look after the properties if the people in there aren't paying. So it's like that. But a lot of these people might not understand that. If these people have lived in a shitty high rise that looks more like a pigeon coop or something, they're not going to respect that the reason why your one looks like a pigeon coop and these other ones look higher is because they're paying more for it, and they're being maintained properly, and there's higher standards. They're not going to understand that. They're just going to think some people in England are getting free housing, just given a house. They're just given a house for nothing. And I'm hoping this is all just lies that I'm seeing online. You're telling people that people are just getting free houses for doing nothing, but by doing that, you're creating this delusion that everyone could just come to England and get free houses. And maybe you're trying to bring them here because you want to kill them. Like, I don't know what your intention is, but if people come here and then just start stealing in shops, that needs to be taken very seriously, because this is the reason why shops in Africa don't work, because no one, I don't know what's happened in that southern tip of Spain, that Moroccan tip in Spain, but if I had a shop there, I would shut it down, like completely shut it down, close it all, take the products, perhaps sell them in a back storage, in a back room to only the locals, maybe get ID first or something. Like, I don't know what I would do, but I would not have a business that's full of food if there's a high chance that this mob of Moroccans are just going to come into the store and steal everything. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to waste my time and my money and my, if you've got your whole like year's salary in the products in a shop, and in one day a bunch of rat-like people can just come in and steal it, that's very, very concerning, and people can't be having businesses if people are just going to steal. And I know they might have not intended to steal, but if they've got no money for food, then that will happen. And so borders are important, because it keeps people that are more likely to turn to crime out. And I know they're not all like that. I spoke to someone on a train yesterday, and he I was counting the number of people on this train. It was a train for 380 people, and I counted 34 people on this train. And I'm thinking about India and stuff, how the trains are just so packed out that you got people sitting all over the roof and just massively squashed into the into the that's how kind of efficient, way too efficient they are. And here we've got the exact opposite: 34 people on a 380 seat train, plus there could have been loads of people standing up. So I don't know why we're wasting our petrol and our fuel and our electricity on carriages that are massive. I know you can say they have to go there and back, and maybe the trip there is going to be empty, but the trip back is going to be full. Well, if you just leave two of the carriages, find a way of being able to easily detach, so you have like a 2-carriage and you can easily detach it. And the one I went on there upwards, it was 12 o'clock in the middle of the day. It was a 5-carriage train, empty. On the way back it was a 4-carriage train, but a similar thing, very, very few people. Although I came back, it was busier on the way back, but we're still only talking less than 100 on a train for about, it was more, probably less than 70 on a train for about 320 or something. I think that works out to be 4-carriage trains, or 300. But yeah, it's a waste, and yeah, it's just, I'm just going to talk about this.
We them smartphones don't be them
don't know what she's saying here, but a lot of these people think that they're better than the West. A lot of these people think that the West has abandoned them, or the West is doing things wrong because, you know, their way of life or their way of thinking is better. And maybe a lot of them would see it as war. You know, if we can conquer the West, then we can have everything the West has. Okay, a lot of them might not even want what the West has. But if they're looking at the West and they're seeing houses, shops, businesses, you know, they're looking at this and they might think, you know what, why should we work hard to work into the West when we can just break in, and when we can just steal and just live off the West? So that it's almost like, but that's what I see a bunch of parasites that wanting to break into the West because then they can just loot and get lots of, you know, there's no shops here. How can they loot shops if there's no here? But if there's lots of shops in the West, then they can see it as easy money, easy, you know. I know they're not all like that, and I'm not saying they're all like that, but a lot of them will have this easy mentality. It's food, it should be free, we should just be able to walk in there and get it, rather than realize, oh wait, no, farmers have actually grown it, people have transported it, shops have formed, you know, businesses have been formed so that they can make money and profit, so that they can feed their family. And it, you know, it's a long system. It's not just a case of food is free, so we should just be able to have it. It's been packaged, it's been looked after, there's health and safety standards, and you know, the transport is very expensive and stuff, and a lot of these people might not care about any of that. Oh well, that's whatever, they'll come up with any excuse they can to just have some excuse to think, well, you grew it in our country and you didn't give us a fair amount of money, so I'm going to just take it. So it's like, well, you didn't grow it. You weren't one of the ones that were growing it. And a lot of them might think, you know, borders, what's up with this? Why have they got borders to stop us from going there? I mean, if we can have a much better life if we can go there, why should we live here in a type of prison when we can go and live in a much better world? You know, a lot of them would think like that, and a lot of lefties agree with that. You know, why are these people being forced to live in poverty when they can just climb over the border and live with us? You know, because they would see these people as being exactly the same as them, and they would think that if they come into this world, then we could just create more shops and we can do this and we can do that. But a lot of these people don't realize that to create this society, we have to obey orders such as do not steal, do not hurt, and a lot of them are mentally ill. You know, this guy that I spoke to on a train, he was a nice guy, and I was taking pictures saying this is complete wastage, and he was like, oh yeah, I do exactly the same thing, and he looked like he was about to have like a conversation with me about how he's trying to help England and help. He didn't look like he was English. He looked like he was from a foreign country, but he'd been here a while. But I don't know. He looked like he was going to go into an intelligent conversation about all the intelligent work that he'd done, but none of it actually made sense. And I was just kind of like smiling and being like, yeah. And I was just like, I have no idea what you're saying, because none of this seems to be related to what I'm doing and the wastage, and it was just like almost like a facade. He was trying to try and convince me that he was intelligent and smart, when really I was thinking, okay, this guy's definitely got a mental illness. And you know, if you've got people that are mentally ill, disabled, and not able to contribute, and then you kind of ask them, are they contributing, or are they just living off benefits? And if they are just living off benefits, how are they benefiting us? And why are they here? And so, you know, a lot of these people might seem healthy and active and sane, but how many of these people are just going to turn into these sort of mentally ill people who believe that they're doing stuff? Oh yeah, there's a lot of wastage. Oh, I can tell you I'm doing a similar thing, and then say something that I couldn't understand. I couldn't take it in. I was just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea how that's relatable and stuff. And it's like I couldn't have a conversation with him, but I was pretending that I was having a conversation with him just to be polite. And he was being polite to me, and he wasn't aggressive or anything. But yeah, I like having a conversation where you feel like you're actually learning something from it. And when you don't have a conversation that you're learning from it, but all you are learning is that you think this guy is completely mentally ill, and yet he has no clue that that's what you're really thinking inside your head, And then he started talking about how he wanted to walk around the shops with me, and I was like, oh no, it's fine, I've got to go on. And then he actually did, because I had to get on a second mini train. I'll get on that mini train, and he kind of like almost followed me onto it. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna run away quickly. But yeah, he wasn't a bad guy, but he was very mentally ill, and he didn't seem like he belonged in this country. And to think that these people might be coming in able and strong and then just turning into sort of mentally ill people, that's highly likely. If you haven't had many lives, it would be hard to maintain sanity, and you might start believing that water should be free, even though it's gone through a massive process for it to be clean and drinkable in your house and stuff. And that's how a lot of these people think. Identity is what's up with that. Why do we need a passport? Why do we need to prove who I am? Surely I can just be like, I'm here, I'm real. Why do I need to prove who I am? And a lot of them do that. What's up with that? What's up with my identity? What's up with my passport? Why can't I just do whatever I want? This is a sort of animal mentality, and the reason why is because you might turn to crime, and if you turn to crime, we need to know who you are. If you want to get free money, we want to make sure that we're giving you money, and that money is actually being spent in a good way, and you're not just using it on yourself. And we want to know how many kids you have. You want to know, like, your decisions, so we can work out if you're making good decisions or bad decisions. If you're making bad decisions, you shouldn't be in a country full of good people, because if borders exist so that certain countries can stay safe from people who don't obey the rules. And part of a prison sentence, okay, you can send people to a prison, but keeping them out and keeping them into certain countries is a type of prison sentence. But you must understand that some of these people are in this situation because they can't obey laws, and because they are going to be a threat, and they are going to break, they are going to commit crimes and stuff. And you have to have borders to stop people from thinking that they can just do whatever they want, because there are people who would just steal and do bad things because that's what they want. And yeah. Is that broke people? What's up with that? They won't even understand. I think sometimes you can say, oh, someone's mentally ill. Like, I reckon that guy that I spoke to on the train, if I told one of these people that I think that guy was mentally ill, and that we had a conversation, but I didn't really understand anything that I said, and I didn't anything he said, and I didn't understand how it related to what I was saying. If I told them that, they might just call me racist. Oh, you're racist. No, I genuinely didn't understand what he was saying, and that's how their mindset is. If someone looks like them, and I start insulting them by saying they look or they seemed mentally ill by what they're saying, he spoke enough words for it to be convincing that he was, mildly intelligent, but it wasn't relatable, and he couldn't even see that I wasn't really like understanding. And these people, though, would they understand if they were to hit on me and tell me how beautiful I am, and I was actually just creeped out by it? Like, would they understand that I'm creeped out by that, or would they just continue talking until I have to be a little bit rude back to get them away? And as soon as they recognize that I'm being rude, that's when you might start seeing a nasty side to them, and they might hit me back and being like, oh, you're racist because you didn't like how I said, even though, or what I was saying, you didn't like how I look, even though I've been pestering you for 5 minutes, and you've just been clearly showing no interest in me. I've ignored all of that, and I'm going to continue pestering you, and then suddenly, oh, look, you're actually getting a little bit rude back. Okay, now I recognize that you're being rude. Now I'm going to suddenly start being rude and attack you back. And a lot of people are like this, and they don't understand why a woman might even be threatened by people like them. Even if they go around raping people, they might not understand why women would be threatened by them. There are migrants that you can avoid, and some of them might not even know why you're avoiding them, even though their intentions towards you might actually be bad. If you start avoiding them, they might not know why you're avoiding them, and it's like, it's stupidity. It's a mindset that's stupidity. There's a lot of black people that have a westernized view, a westernized mindset, and they're the same as English people, but there's a lot that don't. and it's like they don't recognize, they can't recognize that you're not interested in the conversation. They can't recognize that you're not understanding what they're saying. They can't recognize that they don't even want to talk to you. If you don't want to talk to someone and they continuously talk to you, some of these people can't even recognize that you don't want to talk to them, because they just keep trying. It's almost like if you've been selling stuff for a couple of, if you've been selling junk on the streets for years, you know that everyone who talks to you isn't going to want to talk to you because they don't want to buy your rubbish. But if that's all you know, then you might start thinking that everyone talks like that, everyone is like that, and therefore you might not see things in the same perspective. And I think a lot of people from these countries might be the new world. What's wrong with the old world? God made the old world, so the new world, what's up with that? We don't want nothing to do with the new world, because God made the old world and the old world's perfect, even though their life might be shit and stuff. And in this new world, why are you leaving us behind? Why are you not including us? And then they might think, you know what, if we just gather up a war, and there's a civil war brewing in England. A lot of men are not liking this invasion that's coming and this colonization, and the government seems to be doing nothing. So they're thinking, we're going to take things into our own hand and we're going to get rid of these migrants ourselves. I'm hoping that's what's about to happen. And I don't know, but in that same way, the same belief of that, the same ideology of that could be forming in the Middle East. We want to live in the Western world. We want all these nice houses, all these nice things. We didn't build them. We didn't help contribute towards the system. We didn't pay anything towards the tax, but we still want to get this because there's some people in there that are getting all this free, so why can't we? And then they might form an army to just break in and invade and steal and loot, and they don't want to work for it, and they think because they weren't even allowed to work for it, they would just assume we need to just gather up enough of us and we'll make an attack. So I feel like this war is definitely brewing, and people saying what's up with that is kind of like, what's the point of that? What's the point of this new world if it's not including us? Why does it matter if we go and commit loads of crimes if you're not even going to include us anyway? Why do we care if we destroy your world if you're not even welcoming us into your world? I mean, the reason why we're not welcoming you into the world is because if you were there, you'd probably commit crimes and stuff, and you houses are very expensive. Are you going to want to spend every hour of the day working just to make £2,000 a month, only to realise that your rent is about the same cost as that, and that you're basically just a slave? Are you going to be happy with that? No, you're not. You're going to start turning to violence, and you're going to start stealing and stuff like that. And that's okay. I've got to stop. This is a 30-minute video. I'll do part 2 of it.